So to start off, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new router. And once we create the router, we're going to connect it to our LiveView to our LiveView. And then once we create the LiveView, we're going to set up a form. And in that form, we're going to set up the default values. And those default values are going to be email. And by the way, I forgot to mention that in this case, let's try refactoring this form first. And if you have time, I will try refactoring the second one. Right, so with that being said, so we're going to create this form first, and this form is going to have three data primarily. It's going to have, or we need to initialize three data, which is email, password, and also the change set as well. So let's go ahead and first create the new router for the settings. And as you can see, here's the existing router, and there are multiple routers that we require, primarily due to the fact that we need to create a router for each HTTP request type. Right, so the get is what we're seeing right now, and when I click change password, we're going to be calling this one here. And we could really avoid all this boilerplate by just using LiveView. And in LiveView, you do need to break this down, but with LiveView, it's all within a single module. All right, so let's go and create this one first. It's going to be live, and I'm going to call it users live, just to differentiate from the current implementation. I'll call it user settings live. Okay, and once we have done with that, we need to go into a live folder, and we need to create the live file. So it's going to be user settings.live, underscore live ex. And we use underscore live as a convention for Phoenix to automatically pick up that, hey, this is a live folder, and also anything with the underscore live, it's automatic. It's able to make certain associations. So when next time I create a template, which we're going to do soon, it's going to be user underscore settings underscore live .html.leex. When I do that, we don't need a render function. All we just have to do is create a name, create a file with that following naming convention, and Phoenix will automatically pick it up. Okay. So with that being said, what we need to do is we need to create a module, and in this module we need to initialize one important function, which is mount. And this mount is very similar to the init function in a gen server. And LiveView and gen server are they're very much the same thing. Underneath LiveView, it uses a gen server, and so as a result, we need to initialize our argument, and that's what the mount does. So I'm just going to create def module. What is this? I'm just going to confirm if I spelled this correctly. Just going to jump over here. Yeah, okay, cool. So we have spelled it right, and we also need to import the LiveView as well. And let's go ahead and define the mount function as well. I think we get params, session, and socket, which we need. And we are going to, so in this one is where we need to initialize these data, which I mentioned here. So I'm going to say, so we're going to return OK, and I'm going to assign it in the socket. I'm going to assign email is going to be null. So it's going to be null. And we also need to provide an email change set as well, which we are going to create right now. So this change set is essentially going to contain the email and the password as well. So this logic has already been done for us. So I'm just going to go ahead and import it in. So right here, fb email change set. And also pass in the user schema as well. Okay, and let's also import our and also our user as well, since we are referring to the user schema here. And then chain set is equals to email chain set. Okay, and then let's set it at the end here. Right. So now what this one does here is let's kind of go into, let's kind of explore this for a bit to show you what these functions are doing here. I'm going to open up account, find this one here. So what we're doing is we're passing the user schema with the default attribute. And what this essentially does is, let's go into user as well, is that we're going to cast in the email, we're going to validate it, and if the email remains the same, we're going to pass in the change set. But if there's an error, then we're going to say do not change, right? And yeah, so that's essentially what we're doing. We're pretty much creating a new chain set which casts the email, or which casts the email essentially, and also validates the email as well. And so what this validate email function does here is to go into detail. But you know what? Out of curiosity, let me just see what it prints out as well. But I'm gonna say okay, in this function, come over here, go to this route. When it was not implemented, it is because we did not implement that HTML that I was referring to. So for the time being, I'm just going to make a copy of this. Actually, yes, you know what? I'm just going to make a new one here. User setting live HTML UX. I say H1 testing. Okay, and also restart the server as well, just to confirm first overlay. Okay, of course. Settings with an S. Okay, I should pick it up, and we should also see the email chain set printed out as well. Okay, I'll to refresh. Okay, perfect, there you go. And as you can see, here's a chain set. There we go. So email chain set, what we're doing is action change. So errors, yes, cannot be blank, validation required, email do not change. Right, so essentially what we're doing is we're validating the chain set and we're going to pass that back in. And so when we do that, when we do set up this form, it's by default going to show these errors. And let's see if there's a way that we could override that. Better yet, what I'm thinking is, come over here, I can't. What we essentially need is just to cast this in. Just return that. Anyways, we'll deal with that error once we get there. But for now, let's just go ahead and create the form. And the form's already created for us. All we have to do is just pull it in. So it's not in here. It is in under templates, user settings, edit, take this in, bring it here. And we wouldn't need certain things. Let's also update this form as well. Change password. I'm going to remove that for now. Then this last name here, change email address. I'm gonna include the passing a function, but we're not. We are going to define it as an F for email change set, which we're going to be passing in. We don't need this anymore. That, and we also need to define the set of hooks that we're refer to. Let me say save. And so this will get triggered when we click on change email, and we also need one for real-time validation of the fields. So the other one is that on each input we want to validate if the email is valid or not. Actually, in this case we don't need it, so I'm just going to keep it like that. And so this is the default form that we have in here. So in the next section, we're going to talk about setting it up so we're able to pass this information. We're able to pass the information, handle the information in our LiveView module, and also send back a response to the form as well.